Hello everyone. In our next episode, we touch on India for the first time. I am not going to put much time in the explanation of names, in case people are wondering. If you want to have a basic summary, I propose you just go to the wiki page. There is a broad range of names and explanations available for your interest. In case there is something specific on particular names, I will go into that a little bit during the next episodes. On the Swastika, it's all out there, so be my guest and do a little search. It is said that the oldest swastikas are to be found in the caves of Bhimbekta, dating back 35,000 years. These caves are located in the north of the Indian territory, and I really have been looking at many pictures of these petroglyphs and the caves, but I personally have not seen any swastikas. Not saying that there aren't any. I have found several mentions of some, so I will not exclude, but I cannot even say if this info is accurate or just another copy-paste mistake, as I have seen quite a few times. These are actually all pieces I made way earlier, and I'm gonna shorten them a little bit so we can get a move on with this series here. Otherwise, it will take ages before I'm finished. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. I have avoided a bit to speak about the Indus Swastika because, especially in the Indian region, the symbol has deep root and is still today considered as a so-called auspicious sign. According to some, one of the 8, according to others, one of 108 symbols, auspicious symbols. This is already an example of how complex the subject of the Indian swastika is, and I am far from a specialist in ancient Indian religion or history, and since there is a multitude of different explanations and appropriations, I will go over the religious side of the swastika very quickly. I will return to this in a later episode. So now we are in what is generally known as the Indus Valley, a major river that is now a natural border between Pakistan and India. The civilization that thrived here from the 6th to the 2nd millennium BC is still a big mystery to the historians. And the full story of who these people were and the dramatic events that wiped them out is still not uncovered completely. Over thousands of sites are still being excavated, and the enigma has only grown. Although they are called Indus or Harappan civilization, the name Sarasvati may be more appropriate. This legendary river disappeared, and likewise the people who prospered from its richness. It has been regarded as a myth fitting the realm of a goddess, also named Sarasvati, which is worshipped in northern India and Nepal. She is one of 3, together with Lakshmi and Parvati, the female counterparts of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. But in recent years, Indian government has conducted research and has consequently concluded that this river actually did exist, but it dried out or went partially underground thousands of years ago. This civilization was very advanced. The city planning, the crafts they mastered, the traces they left far beyond what is considered their home region, it all points to a highly advanced society. Literally hundreds of these tiny clay tablets have been found in India, but also in Mesopotamia and Saudi Arabia or Bahrain. As far as Haifa, even in current Israel, according to scholars, these are identification labels. The swastikas are mainly found on the backside, actually. And these labels or clay tablets, they would be connected to the transported goods. They would be wrapped in a second layer of clay, only to be removed by the recipient of the shipments. It's self-evident that the trade not only went westwards, but that they, in all probability, also traded with South India, and the South Indians on their turn with farther east. This here is an example of a comparison between the Indus script and the Rongo Rongo, which is the Polynesian script. This is an example of glyphs that have been found in the Easter Islands. According to some, the link in between the Indus and the Rongo Rongo script would be the Baybayin writing from the Philippines, assuming that the expansion route would have gone over the Indonesian and Papua New Guinea area southwards. Whatever it may be, the script has not fully been deciphered yet. And also on that I made a little piece already that I'm gonna use in this video. There are numerous sources when looking to the use and the meaning of the swastika in India. It is known to have been in use from the time before what is officially regarded as the Sanskrit written language. One of the earliest texts is the Rig Veda, and that one is dated back 6,000 years. And you will find the explanation of swastika described in them, meaning auspicious and basically being used for all which needs good luck. The problem is, however, that there are many different interpretations about its origin, since these texts were written in metaphors, and to be able to understand these metaphors, it requires, at least in my humble opinion, a mindset different than ours. That is why I put emphasis on understand, because to be able to read them is definitely not the same. So people go out of their way, for example, to explain the difference between left or right turning swastika. But somehow I think that is a mere example of how different state of mind humans had back then compared to our in our present time. We end up with a dualistic worldview, and we are unable to enter the state of experience or ordering of the phenomena which surround us the way they did. We fail to understand them as different manifestations of the forces of life, which in essence are neither positive or negative. We are left with divisions and dissensions. We have to assume that the Vedic knowledge was transmitted long before it was ever written down. The advantages of oral tradition must therefore be regarded as belonging to a time spirit in which people were able to recognize truth and untruth in body languages using all these senses available. In the time of the wandering storyteller, little changed in the essence of the message. Perhaps that the details varied, but I think religion and politics seem to be largely responsible for distracting and put focus on different details instead. Like the following excerpts are of a documentary which gives a little insight. At least we see the importance of this oral tradition embedded in the rituals of specific groups among the Indian population. And this group in particular are descendants of Brahmani, devoted to the worship of one of the oldest Indian deities, and that is Agni. I will come back to that later. This may seem unrelated, or this may seem unrelated to the topic, but considering how difficult it is to find a satisfactory translation of the Sanskrit glyphs, it is maybe not that far off. A fixed mindset of anyone who works on a translation may cause a too narrow perspective. Is it not so that many archaeological items are determined as quote religious items unquote just by the mere lack of explanation fitting the that fits it must fit the official narrative. This is just an example of how there is little space left for innovative conceptualization. These are a few examples of variations. It's not only swastikas on the, and they are actually on the back side of the seals. The front side looks like this. While I was looking for a good translation, I found the work of Mr. Kalyan Naraman. He has done extensive work on interpretation of the glyphs, and he has written a book, he has a blog, he has a YouTube channel, written several articles on this, and his interpretation is actually is fitting perfectly to the concept of long distance trade in a society that concentrates its knowledge on oral recital. You would not be needy for development of a common script unless you are in contact with other language speaking societies. As he points out, these glyphs are to be read as a rebus. In doing so, he concludes the glyphs refer to metallurgical terms, naming the swastika symbol as standing for zinc. According to him, the Meluhans traded ores on a large scale, mainly in Rajasthan, rather than being specialized metallurgists themselves. This is clear since only a few copper artifacts have actually been excavated until now, and the remains found in Harappa of furnaces and crucible do not account for a large developed industry. He claims that the fact that Westerners knew nothing about this metal caused them to conclude that they were trading tin rather than zinc. Both were readily in use in the East to produce bronze or brass, long before the by historians provided dating. Since zinc was unknown in the West until Paracelsus. Zinc is mostly found in the form of minerals like calamine or accompanying veins of other metals like lead. It took a while for them to recognize zinc. According to Chinese historical account and also Western sources, there used to be an island located at the Indus Delta named Kalamina. This is unclear though. Sea levels have risen a big deal during the last millennia, and it seems little is very known about the places that have been under the sea level since. So, next to that all, the extraction of zinc would need a specific way of smelting, since it becomes volatile and it is captured as a deposit on the crucible or retort that is used, or depending on the type of furnace. Yeah, but next to the metallurgy, another reason why the ancients would be very interested in mineral and metal would be medicine. The use of mineral and metal for medicinal purpose was widespread all over the world. The Chinese have extensive records of this practice in history. I may address this in a later episode. For now, I think this is it, and I will be back soon with more bits and pieces. Bye bye.